What is God's relationship to time? We live in a physical world with its four known space-time dimensions of length, width, height, or depth, and time. However, God dwells in a different realm, the spirit realm, beyond the perception of our physical senses. It's not that God isn't real, it's a matter of His not being limited by the physical laws and dimensions that govern our world. Knowing that God is spirit, what is His relationship to time? In Psalm 90 verse 4, Moses used a simple yet profound analogy in describing the timelessness of God. For 1,000 years in your sight is like a day that has just gone by, or like a watch in the night. The eternity of God is contrasted with the temporality of man. Our lives are but short and frail, but God does not weaken or frail with the passage of time. In a sense, the marking of time is irrelevant to God because He transcends it. Peter in 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 8 cautioned his readers not to let this one critical fact escape their notice, that God's perspective of time is far different from mankind's. The Lord does not count time as we do. He is above and outside of the sphere of time. God sees all of eternity's past and eternity's future. The time that passes on earth is of no consequence from God's timeless perspective. A second is no different from an eon. A billion years pass like seconds to the eternal God. Though we cannot possibly comprehend this idea of eternity or the timelessness of God, we and our finite minds try to confine an infinite God to our time schedule. Those who foolishly demand that God operate according to their time frame ignore the fact that He is the high and lofty one who lives forever. This description of God is far removed from man's condition. The length of our days is 70 years or 80 if we have the strength. Yet their span is but trouble and sorrow, for they quickly pass and we fly away. Again, because of our finite minds, we can only grasp the concept of God's timeless existence in part, and in so doing, we describe Him as a God without a beginning or end, eternal, infinite, everlasting, etc. Psalms chapter 90 verse 2 declares, "From everlasting to everlasting you are God." See also Psalms 93 verse 2. He always was and always will be. So, what is time? To put it simply, time is duration. Our clocks mark change, or more precisely, our timepieces are benchmarks of change that indicate the passage of time. We could say then that time is a necessary precondition for change, and change is a sufficient condition to establish the passage of time. In other words, whenever there's change of any kind, we know that time has passed. We see this as we go through life, as we age, and we cannot recover the minutes that have passed by. Additionally, the science of physics tells us that time is a property resulting from the existence of matter. As such, time exists when matter exists, but God is not matter. God, in fact, created matter. The bottom line is this: time began when God created the universe. Before that, God was simply existing. Since there was no matter, and because God does not change, time had no existence and therefore no meaning, no relation to Him. And this brings us to the meaning of the word eternity. Eternity is a term used to express the concept of something that has no end and/or no beginning. God has no beginning or end, but He cannot be wholly defined by eternity, especially as a measure of time. God is eternal, but eternity does not equal God. Similarly, God is all-powerful, but power does not equal God. Eternity is one of God's attributes, but having created time, He is greater than time and exists outside of it. Scripture reveals that God lives outside the bonds of time as we know it. Our destiny was planned before the beginning of time and before the creation of the world. By faith, we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. In other words, the physical universe we see, hear, feel, and experience was created not from existing matter, but from a source independent of the physical dimension we can perceive. God is spirit, and correspondingly God is timeless rather than being eternally in time or being beyond time. Time was simply created by God as a limited part of his creation for accommodating the workings of his purpose in his disposable universe. Upon the completion of his creation activity, including the creation of time, what did God conclude? God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. Indeed, God is spirit in the realm of timelessness, rather than flesh in the sphere of time. As believers, we have a deep sense of comfort knowing that God, though timeless and eternal, is in time with us right now. He is not unreachably transcendent, but right here in this moment with us. And because he is in this moment, he can respond to our needs and prayers.